So you're talking about like trying to make the saxophone sound like a Jimi Hendrix style playing, but breathing is part of that. How do you like you must go through breathing exercises or something, because listening to you play, it sounds like someone would pass out with how constant
how many
you're
times
playing
have you
and
passed
for how
out?
long.
I have not passed out. That's the one thing
Wow.
that I've avoided. I talk with other sax player friends of mine about that, and I have friends who've dropped on stage, but never for me. And no, it's circular breathing. Although, well, circular breathing is a technique. It is akin to balancing on a bike, I guess. It's a question of coordination. And so once you get it, once you find that equilibrium and more or less trick your body into allowing you to do it, it's there. And so it's the fact of being able to breathe that way only really unlocks that one thing. It just lets you do that, but it doesn't account for any of the other things which are actually the real feat. So you can circular breathe, but if you don't have the stamina or musculature in your embouchure to be able to hold a note beyond 30 seconds, then it doesn't matter if you can breathe continuously, because the rest of your body won't allow you to hold that. It won't allow you to do anything useful with it. So,
and for the uninitiated, which I sort of am, circular breathing is this idea that you have wind, you have air that is constant, that is able to basically come in at the same time that it's also being used to then generate sound on the instrument. Theoretically, it could be forever, I guess. If your muscles or whatever were strong enough, right? Am I understanding this correctly?
Certainly. So circular breathing is one of the oldest techniques. I imagine that the practice of it in sound production probably predates languages, like modern language. It's something that goes far, far back, and I assume really has something to do with our ancestors' initial forays into trying to the first attempts at existing in conversation with nature on an equal footing as nature, that ever presence. And so you can see this in virtually every ancestral population throughout time has some form of drone music. Bagpipes are pretty ubiquitous, some kind of thing like that. So all that circular breathing is a bagpipe without the bag. So you're using, if you understand the principle of a bagpipe, where you have a bellows to pump up a bag, that bag then the pressure being forced through reeds is what creates the continuum, and you just need to continue to put more air to replenish the air in the bag. The bag keeps the pressure on the reeds. So this and this become the bag. Reed is in the instrument, and the pressure it takes there is not just instead you have to create the seal with your musculature, with your embouchure, and that's what gives you the potential for that ever presence for going. And so you can see that pop up. The most literally the most literal example of that I know of, and it's kind of a glaring example that comes out of if you look at the kind of arc and lineage of bagpipes throughout the Mediterranean and up through Western Europe and Scandinavia. You've got in Sardinia they made a type of bagpipe that's bagless. It's called a launetas, and launetas is really just as far as I understand, it came out of a period of not not having the livestock it took to fashion the
bladder or whatever.
The bladder, yeah. And then people figured out in a new way to go about it without having that, which was forego the bag, turn your face and neck into it, and just simply play these canters. It's a gorgeous instrument, but it is kind of like a very kind of a pure example of what it is that all of these things are doing fundamentally, and then what it is that we can do, learning from the basic principles.
Any bar tricks that develop from this? Is there anything outside of music that you can do at a party or something?
Sadly, there's virtually no other applications for it.
Dang, I was thinking there's got to be something.
No. And I was talking to a friend recently about it because he was asking, because everyone's always told as a means of practicing it, use a straw in a glass of water and try to make continuous bubbles, which I never thought was a very good way of teaching, because you can kind of approximate that without actually circular breathing, because who's to say when the bubbles stop. But I suppose the closest thing that there is to a bar trick, but this is a sad bar trick that's not going to you won't be winning you any fans. You take a square of tissue and put it on the wall. This is a better way to learn, because it'll force your mind into externalizing the act. Put it on a wall, get close to that wall, and then start circular breathing, start breathing onto it, and make sure that it does not fall. And usually that's the one I think that can click in people's physiology, because you're getting your mind off of what's going on in your nose and in your breath and in your lungs. You're putting it onto this piece of paper that's outside of you. And usually that's when we can unlock some things, when the necessity is externalized.
That's so interesting. That would be impressive. I feel like if someone just blew on a paper on a wall for like 30 minutes, I'd be like, that guy's, I need to be friends with.
They would only want to see
minutes.
It once. Yeah,
you gotta go to different bars every weekend.
We get it. You can keep it. Yeah.